Hi, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense here on YouTube. Today we're going to be talking about a rather strange breed of creature called the sovereign citizen. You might think, what in the world is that? Well, in just a minute, I'll tell you. For those of you who would like to figure this out from video footage, there is a wonderful channel called Schrodinger's Cat here on YouTube that has a lot of sovereign citizen videos. People who are claiming to be sovereign citizens and who, for whatever reason or another, decide that they are just not going to participate in a traffic stop. And so if you will go to Schrodinger's Cat and watch a couple of those videos after you're done here, you'll see just how completely stupid some of these people can be. But basically, a sovereign citizen is just somebody who doesn't believe that the laws of the United States apply to them. They believe that they are a sovereign in their own right, and they don't have to subscribe to state laws. Now, the most common way that you will see this come up is where your basic sovereign citizen gets pulled over because he doesn't have a license plate on his vehicle. Now, a lot of times they will just put nothing on the back, or they will put non-commercial vehicle or private property on the back of their vehicle where the license plate would be, to indicate that they are operating their private, non-commercial conveyance. Because somewhere along the line, some group of idiots told these folks that if they are not a commercial vehicle, meaning a truck like a Ryder truck or perhaps a delivery van for a furniture store, that they don't need either a driver's license or a license plate tag. Now, the rest of us out here in the real world understand that we do need those things. We know that we need those things because we know we'll get a ticket if we don't have them. But you see, your sovereign citizen doesn't actually recognize the right of the government to ticket you for that. And so they apply all manner of stupidity to try to get out of it. When the police officer comes up and asks for a driver's license, they will say, well, I don't have one. And they'll say, well, you have to have one. Or they'll get them into a conversation about, well, why do I need a driver's license? Well, because the state law says so. Well, who's the state? What do you mean, who's the state? Give me a break. If you live in Missouri and you're driving on Missouri roads, you're a citizen of Missouri, or you're operating your vehicle in Missouri, and Missouri's laws apply to you, the same way it would in all the 49 other states. But for whatever mental disconnect these people have, they simply refuse to acknowledge that the law of the state has any bearing on what they're doing. So they will simply say, well, I don't have one, I'm not a commercial vehicle. And they say, well, you're driving, you need a driver's license. Oh, I'm not driving, I'm traveling. Does your head hurt when you think that way? Because in order to travel, you're driving a car. So certainly you are driving. But they get into this ridiculous semantics dialogue with the police officers where they claim, I'm not driving, I'm traveling. And the Constitution says I have a right to travel. And indeed, the Constitution does say you have a right to travel, but it doesn't say that you can drive without a license. In fact, you can't drive without a license. Driving is a privilege, it's not a right. You don't find it in the Constitution. Traveling is a right, but you can travel without driving. You can walk across the street, you're traveling. You can walk into the next county, you're traveling, but you are not driving. You can ride a horse, right? But all of those things, all of those methods of travel are different from driving. Driving requires a driver's license. Yet for some reason, these folks just don't get it. So when the police officer finally gets to the point where like, look, I'm not arguing with you, pal. either show me your driver's license or identify yourself. They'll say, well, I don't have to identify myself because you haven't told me I've committed a crime. And the cop will usually say something like, well, yeah, but you've committed an infraction and I need to ticket you. And then they'll say, well, they don't recognize the infraction. And inevitably, what happens is they will roll up their window and simply quit talking with the cop. At which point in time, the cop takes their club or their little crowbar and bashes the window in and pulls them out of the car. Because when a police officer asks you to step out of the car, you have to do it. Almost every state has a stop and identify statute. And indeed, if you are asked for your driver's license, as you would be in almost any state, you have to provide it if you're driving. And that is also a form of identification. So here are just some thoughts wrapping up on sovereign citizens. First of all, if you are going to operate a motor vehicle, whether you call it driving or traveling, you need a driver's license. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling you something. If you are going to drive a motor vehicle on the public roadways, you need to have a license tag. Anybody who tells you otherwise is an idiot. If you are asked to identify yourself at a traffic stop, for example, if you have mistakenly left your driver's license somewhere else, provide the officer with the identifying information that he requests. Because here's the other side of the coin. If you don't, they are going to detain you, put you in the back of a patrol car, take you to jail, and fingerprint you. They have to make sure you don't have a warrant before they let you go. So, again, common courtesy just says cooperate with the officer. As they used to tell us in the Army, cooperate and graduate. In other words, move along if you do the right thing. And then finally, if you are asked to step out of the vehicle, Pennsylvania versus Mims, famous Supreme Court case, says, yeah, you got to do that. And if you don't, they're going to break your window and they're going to pull you out. And it's unlikely to be good for you. You're going to have to pay to replace your window. And if you even assert the ridiculous notion that the state is going to have to pay to replace your window, you're going to be laughed out of court. You absolutely had an obligation to cooperate with the officer. If you don't do that, you wind up missing a window and probably with a rather significant ticket, obstruction of a police officer, things like that. So that's the take on sovereign citizens, and hopefully you found this interesting, thought-provoking, helpful. Again, if you haven't already, check out the Schrodinger's Cat YouTube channel. There's a lot of really good content on there, including sovereign citizens, First Amendment auditors, and even a few people who still think the earth is flat. Yeah, there are still a few people out there who think the earth is flat. There's just some people you can't help very much. It's the way life goes. All right, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please smash that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please go over here and subscribe to our channel so you can be notified every time we release a video on this channel. Again, thanks a lot, and I'll catch you on here next time.